हेलो 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 हेलो। एक बार रेकॉर्डिंग में बटन क्लिक करता रहा થાય છે। हेलो 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 हेलो। आयो आगे 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 नहीं જોઈ મંગલ શું કીધું બધું ટ્રાય કર્યા પછી જો ના થાય તો રિસ્ટાર્ટ કરો। આવે છે ને પરફેક્ટ। અહીંયાની ચપટી પણ સંભળાય છે એ માઇક એ ઓછું કરી દઈશું સેન્સિટિવિટી। શું ના 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 અવાજ જાય છે હમણાં સ્ક્રીન પર તમે નહીં આવતા સ્ક્રીન પર બીજું બતાવે છે અવાજ જાય। kind of a leadership week is a signature program. And some of you who attended the first program, the hall was overflowing, more than 90 participants. The whole week we had a presence of more than 75 people, and we had conducted that program at a different hall. Um, we believe that leadership is one of the important parts in terms of developing a personality. અને જેમ આગળ પણ હું કહેતો આવ્યો છું કે leadership is not something which is only for the political leaders. Leadership is not something only for the corporate CEOs. Leadership is also for any individual. ઘરમાં પણ લીડરની જરૂર પડે છે, સોસાયટીમાં જરૂર પડે છે, અને ઘણી બધી જગ્યાએ in every position that somebody is a manager, unless he has a leadership, let's say, qualities, it will be difficult. Or with the good leadership qualities, I would say that he is able to get the work done from his, he'll be able to motivate, and from his subordinates, he'll be able to get really good work done. So I mean, it's a wonderful idea that we believe that leadership is something that is worth knowing, learning, understanding. And પછી એની અંદર આપણે અલગ અલગ leadership, let's say અલગ અલગ leaders, અલગ અલગ કંપનીઝ માંથી આપણે લીડરશિપનો સેશન્સ રાખ્યા હતા. ગયે વર્ષે we took off, I think આગલા વર્ષે આપણે જે 19માં જે વર્ક કરી એની અંદર world's renowned companies leadership પર બધી વાત કરી. અને this time we thought that this is an era of an startup, era of an innovation. And Aman, have we reached 43 or 44 startups or unicorns this year? 43. We are at 43 unicorns. मैं आज तक एक मेल मोकला रहा हूँ. Very सरस news. Anyway, and therefore when we were talking myself and Aman, we said this is the year we should really talk about some of the unicorns and how in a short period they have really done so well. Different kind of industry, different kind of leaders, different leadership styles, and for that matter, we thought that we work with this. So to begin with, Mr. May I request you to offer a prayer, and then Chinmay will introduce Aman, our own Aman.
Good evening, everyone. So, I am these days staying in Rajasthan, and the district is Barmer. A lot of folk song culture is in common over there. So, I'm bringing one of those songs to all of you, and it's very much associated if we try to understand the feelings within the song. अरे पीले अमीर से धारा गगन में झड़ी ओ जी पी लो अमीर से धारा गगन में झड़ी झड़ी लगी रहा झड़ी लगी झड़ी लगी रहा झड़ी लगी पीले अमीर से धारा गगन में झड़ी लगी हाँ उनका प्यासा घड़ा भर पाया सपने में वो स्वाद न आया उनका प्यासा घड़ा भर पाया सपने में वो स्वाद न आया कहे किसे कैसे समझाए एक बूंद की तरन लगी पीले अमीर से धारा गगन में झड़ी लगी प्यास बिना क्या पिएगा पानी प्यास के लिए है वो पानी
Okay. Okay. So overall, an interesting year, I would say, because uh, in the world of startups, many things have happened. Contrary to what we see around and what report says that we are going to cash flow and everything. Right. Contrary to that, India saw highest number of unicorns being formed in 2021. Right? And as I said, since last 3-4 months, we are exchanging news articles and news from the applications and everything. That sir would say this is the 20th unicorn. On the second day or third day, I would say, sir, it's 21. So like that, we are standing at 43rd unicorn. But wherein here is still pending. So ST sir and I, we all should pray that at least we hit half century by the end of this year. That's going to be a milestone for India. We have already achieved that particular milestone in India because there are only 70 unicorns in a totality in the history of India and 43 just from this year. Right? 43 are being from this year. Right? So let's see what the startup ecosystem and what this particular term unicorn is all about. So can anyone tell me why that particular term is being used in startup? Unicorn, it's a mythological and ancient figure, right? After the last time बात करेंगे, why this particular unicorn term is being associated in the startup ecosystem? Any guesses? Random guesses.
Maybe it is kind of a dream that you achieve that stage.
Okay.
Imaginary positive figure.
Okay. Yeah. Close enough. Anyone else? So basically, unicorns, એટલે સ્ટોરીઝમાં જે આપણે બધાએ સાંભળ્યું છે. So at that time, they would say that it's a very kind of a luck that you are able to see a unicorn in your lifetime. So basically, unicorns were a rarity, right? Were a rarity. So just focus on this particular term, rarity. Okay. Now, in the startup ecosystem, till 2011, across the globe, there were only 30 unicorns. Okay. Now, unicorn in the startup ecosystem is defined as any startup which is having a valuation of $1 billion and above. So, at that particular time, when this particular term was inducted in the startup ecosystem vocabulary, as we say, that particular term, unicorn, in those times, unicorns were really rare. So startup having a $1 billion valuation was a rarity in that particular time. So they coined this term unicorn. But now the situation is altogether different. Okay, and this is the milestone which I was talking about. We are at the third position globally in the startup ecosystem, having 70 unicorns in India. First is USA and second is China, right? So this is the stats. 60 unicorns by 2013. And now look at the number in 21. I'm talking about unicorns, not startups. Unicorn startups who are having valuation of $1 billion and more. So you can see the change, right? So unicorns in that time were a rarity, but it is not in this particular era, in this particular year. The combined valuation of all the startups across the globe is $3,049 billion US. 1 billion USD means 1 followed by 9 zeros. Multiply by currency exchange rate. You can imagine, right? 18 decacons. Now new terms are being invented because the unicorn is not able to suffice the valuation which the startups are surpassing. Okay, they are even surpassing the valuation of 1 billion. So decacons are the startups which is having valuation of $10 billion and above. Unicorns $1 billion, decacorn $10 billion and above. Okay, and BAP of all, hectocon. Hectocon is a term which which was introduced 3 or 4 years back, I guess, having valuation of 100 billion US dollars. 100 billion US dollars. So unicorn is $1 billion, Deca is $10 billion, and Hectocon is $100 billion and above. Can anyone guess which are these two startups? Any guess? I'm talking about the global scale, globally. $100 billion and above. Huh?
Elon Musk, Tesla.
Close enough. It is one of the startups by Elon Musk only, but it's not. It's SpaceX. And the second is SpaceX is valued at 102 or 103 billion dollars, and Chinese company, Chinese startup ByteDance. Okay, that's the first decagon having valuation of 150 billion dollars. These are not INC companies. These are not incorporated. These are startups having valuation of 150 billion dollars. Right. India leading at position 3, 70 startups totality, having unicorn status. Out of that, 2 are decacons. So we are contributing heavily when you see this figure, 18 globally and 2 in India. So which are those 2 decacons having valuation of $10 billion and above? Any guesses? One of them was recently was in a stock market, not Zomato, not Nykaa, and जो दूसरा है उसका भी लीडरशिप में एक टॉक आने वाला है अभी 2 दिन में. हाँ नहीं, not Zero, Byju's is the first, and second one is Paytm. Now any startup will lose the coveted term startup when it gets listed. It becomes a public limited company. So a startup will lose its status as a startup when it gets its IPO or when it gets listed on the stock market. So currently we are having only one decagon, and that is Byju's. Before debuting on National Stock Exchange, Paytm was, I think, valued at around 16 to 18 billion dollars, and Byju's is around 11 or 12 billion dollars. So 2 decagons in India. And yeah, this is the updated version. 43rd, we are having 43 unicorns, not 42, in this 21. And we are still at 12th December. The year is not going to end soon. So this is what the unicorns and startup ecosystem around the world looks like. Marti, ત્યાં જવા છે laptop પર? I need to play a video.
Can you play the video? Yeah, you can.
ના એસ્કેપ કર, એન્ડ જો મેં નીચે જ ખોલેલું છે ફાઇલમાં. હાઉ ઇનસેન્સિટિવ. રાઇટ ક્લિક અને ચાલશે. VLC. So this is what startup looks like. અવાજ આવે છે? આપણે જ્યારે ઇન્ડિયામાં સ્ટાર્ટઅપનું પ્લાનિંગ કરીએ ને ત્યારે યુઝ્યુઅલી આવું થતું હોય છે. લેટ્સ સી. Okay, I'm bored.
I have an idea. Just one. Did you just say, I have an idea? Anyway, so wait! So basically, He has an idea. Amazing. There is $30 million. How about 40? 60 million. I think that would be. But I haven't even told him my. See, guys, $1 billion isn't cool. You know what's cool? $1 billion that you don't deserve. What? And can I just tell you that you were the inspiration behind us starting the bubble? Obviously, starting the bubble. Hey, and the. Oh, yes. That's a bubble. Yes, that's amazing. Okay, listen, at least listen to how you like our startups. You are this. This is a hill. Yep. Next startup funding just came through. How does time expand? You're fine, yeah? Okay, listen, I'm not getting hurt. You or anybody's going ahead. Hey, we need more money, Mike. Well, because it's bought a hill, Mike. Okay, we need to. Well, you guys, that his valuation is bullshit. With a $1 billion startup, Mike. Sorry, people, right? Okay, how did you manage to get this? I'm a little I don't understand. Okay, see, this is because you're the practical guy. But I'm the visionary. You're Steve Jobs, and I'm Steve Jobs. But we don't make anything, or we don't do anything. But that's just how things work now. People give you money, and then you spend the money, and then they give you more money. It's great. Capitalism. That's not how capitalism works. Let me do my Steve Jobs. Okay? God damn it, Mike! What is going on? We're celebrating! Milestone! What milestone? I don't even know. Okay, listen, I'm getting a little worried about the way that you're spending the money. Don't worry, just do your Steve Jobs. Okay, stop saying that! Wow, right? What? Okay, how are people paying you more money to do nothing? Well, no, it's obvious. It's mass hysteria, and it's always worked out well in the past. Okay, Aman. Yeah. Now, for the love of God, just listen to my idea. Oh, no, I see how it is. My idea, right? My idea. My idea. My. Me. What about the Steve Jobs that I am doing? What are you doing? Wow. You're going to hear from my lawyer. I'm afraid your friend is suing you for $1 billion. What? What is he suing me for? $1 billion. I know that. But for what? $1 billion. I know, but what for? $1 billion. I know the figure, but what is the reason? It's a song by Bruce Lee. What is the reason he is suing me? The new song, and I apologize. Keep everything. I don't want to enjoy it. Shut up! Just shut up! Shut up! Man, I just wanted to apologize. You were right about this whole startup deal. Actually, insane. You know, it's just a bunch of people creating value to feel spectacular. I really should listen to you. I'm listening to you now. You know, Indian friends. Yes. Just out of curiosity, so you have to shut down the company because we did nothing, right? We didn't make anything. Oh no, I sold it to Facebook. Fuck it! Fuck it! What? Fuck it! Fuck! Good. What? Who's Mike? Light us up! How do you make it? No, who's Mike in the number?
So startup word not बदलने लगे so we can use big jargons and things are moving just like that. But we are here to see a journey of one of the unicorns in here, Aman Chawda, and how this video describe the startup and how actually startup works. And this was just a reference to that, and we'll be able to understand more after seeing that particular video. Now, a particular company is producing majorly two things, right? Goods, those are products, actual products that we can see, touch and feel, and second is services. So, services like when you go to a salon or a haircut, you are actually not seeing that particular product or a particular thing, but you are experiencing the service, right? So services are basically intangible. We cannot touch and feel them, but we are, at that particular moment, we take that particular service and we consume it. But that's not a part of product. What product looks like. So product is like we are paying for them, and we have a specific purpose to use it. Right? So generation and consumption is not immediate at the product side, but it is immediate at the service side, and that is because services, because the services we cannot see them, we cannot touch them. So वहाँ पर हमको विश्वास बैठाना वो पर्टिकुलर सर्विस के लिए it's very hard, right? Because we are actually not seeing them, right? They are present, but we are not seeing them. Right? So the service industry in India is heavily unorganized. Contrary to the product market, service industry in India is heavily unorganized, and people employed in this particular industry, 85% of them are just doing freelancing. They are doing freelancing. They are not employed by any organization, or they are not having their even bank accounts. They are surviving in cash. Construction industry, right? Then we see plumbers and electricians, right? We see the hairdressers, right? They are being paid cash. Right? So I'm just putting up the stats, recent stats of October and September. 5 CR unorganized workers registered on eShram portal. eShram portal is a portal developed by Government of India to assess the situation of those people who have lost jobs due to COVID. Right? They wanted to track each and every employee, and they wanted to see what they can do for them. So this is the newspaper cutout article of what the October and September stats say. So 5 CR in October. So this is 26th of October, not even 10 days before, 4 CR. September 26, 1.7 CR, and September 19, over 1 CR. So these many people are being registered on eShram portal by the local government authorities, right? I'm just giving you a snapshot of just 2 months. So you can imagine how unorganized this particular sector is, right? Now, what Urban Company has done in this particular segment is phenomenal. Usually what we have is we go to a particular hairdresser, and that hairdresser gets fixed कि हमको भाई इसी के पास जाना है और ये मेरी स्टाइल जानता है, right? Now this particular thing is about the trust. This particular thing is all about the service quality which we are getting, right? Now it is very difficult to organize this particular sector when it is there are no rules and regulations, and there are nothing, and they are operating at their own pace, at their own time, and at their own mood or whatever. उनको काम करना है तो वो करेंगे, नहीं करना है तो वो नहीं करेंगे, right? So these many challenges Urban Company saw. Loophole was there. A large vacuum was created in this particular segment, and Urban Company took the leap of faith, and they did a phenomenal job. Now, we all know Urban Company, right? Which was previously known as Urban Clad. उन्होंने नाम चेंज किया 2018 में, and now they have become Urban Company. So we know they provide home services, anything from plumber to electrician to beautician. आपके घर पे आके वो लोग बाल काट जाएंगे, manicure, pedicure, everything. Now, these are the co-founders of Urban Company, and I have deliberately put this particular slide. Again, we are recalling the Economic Times Awards of 2021, and these were the startup that were selected by Economic Times, and they give awards every year. So this particular category, COVID-led business transformation, was won by Urban Company, right? First myth that we are going to see today is, usually what we see in the news and among the founders that, majority of them, like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and everything, are college dropout. Everyone is college dropout, and we tend to say that I am also dropping out of college and I will do something on my own. But Abhiraj Singh Bal, Varun Khaitan, they were batchmates in IIT Kanpur. Varun did his PhD in computer science from University of California. Abhiraj went to IIM Ahmedabad for MBA. Raghav Chandra, he is Raghav Chandra, the tech CTO of Urban Company. He was studying at University of California again with Varun Khaitan, and he worked with Twitter at a very senior position. Right? So, education is equally important because we have to be technically very strong if we want to achieve something, right? So this particular slide I put to understand the importance of education among the founders. So Abhiraj Singh and Varun Khaitan were working with Boston Consulting Group. I hope everybody have heard this name, BCG. It's a very reputed organization, and they do consultancy for the companies, and they do market research for the companies, right? So Abhiraj Singh and Varun were employed at BCG. Varun was working at USA, and Abhiraj was working at Singapore. Between 2011 and 2013, they used to regularly talk, maybe on weekends or something, regarding the ideas. They used to start random discussion on call, and they would say, यार आजू बाजू तुम लोग क्या problems देख रहे हो, US में क्या चल रहा है, सिंगापुर में ये problems है, और यहाँ पर ये products and services को quality अच्छी नहीं है, right? मुझे ये सारे loopholes दिख रहे हैं. So they were deliberately talking to each other just to get a startup idea from their discussions, right? This happened. This continued for 2 years. 2013 was the time when they decided to quit the job. Not having any idea or not having any product or services in their hand, they decided to quit the job because they were not able to aggressively brainstorm on startup ideas because they were getting salary on the first of every month. Now, when you are in a comfort zone, right, it's very difficult to break from that particular environment and do something difficult. So they took this particular step. Disclaimer: this doesn't mean that we should do that. Okay, they got lucky, and they really got lucky. They clicked with an idea, right? So 2013, I think it was January or Feb, they both left the job, and they were clear enough to develop something for India and in India. So they both returned from Singapore and US, and they both were staying in Delhi, and they started working on different ideas. When we see the scale of Urban Company, these stats are very much important, right? they have more than 32,000 service executives on their portal who serve people. They have served more than 5 million customers till date. They are located at 49 cities in India, majorly in tier 1 and a few in tier 2. Vadodara being one of them. In 5 countries. So they are in India, Singapore, UAE, Australia, and they have recently started their operations and business expansion in USA. So 5 countries. They are providing 80 plus services. 80 plus services for the household purposes and everything. It includes everything, right from gas repairing, gas pipeline repairing to everything. They have, I couldn't figure out the exact figure for revenue that they are generating, but I got to know the transactions which are happening on Urban Company monthly basis. That is 450,000 transactions are happening per month on Urban Company's application or website. This is an interesting fact. 120,000 inquiries per month they are not able to cater. They have a huge demand. Despite having 32,000 partners, 32,000 service executives, they are missing out on 120,000 inquiries per month. Can you imagine? This is a shocking statistic. Currently, they are valued at $2 billion. We'll see how investors put their faith in Urban Company. So these are the investors. Above ones are the VCs, and नीचे आप जो देख रहे हैं वो individual investors हैं, including Ratan Tata, Dipinder Goyal from Zomato, Kunal Shah from Craig, Ritesh Agarwal from Oyo. Right. So in a way, when we look at these startups, Urban Company was at a very good position in terms of generating or getting the investors. उनका ध्यान अच्छी तरह से उन्होंने खींचा है. Now let's see the individual investments that happened during their entire timeline. So first, Series A funding round. Series A के पहले एक राउंड होता है प्री सीड राउंड जिसको बोलते हैं. उसमें स्नैपडील के फाउंडर ने इन्वेस्ट किया. So they wrote the first check to Urban Company for 10 CR or so. March 2015, they got Series A for 2 million. July again 2015, Series A 10 million. So this is the investment amount and this is the valuation that they were getting. Right. So you can see they were lucky enough to get consistent investment across their function throughout the years. Right. Ratan Tata is one of the mentors to UC as well. So that's a very huge thing for them, and they take guidance from him. And I think they are planning for IPO as well, maybe later in 2022 or 23. Not sure. All right. So what UC has done? Before that, can anyone name a competitor against UC, or you have used his services or anything? It's a very shocking news or a shocking data that when they started UC in late 2013, along with them there were close to 60 to 80 startups who have been working in this particular segment, this service industry area. Just like UC, they had an app, they had a website, they have listed all the partners and everything. Along with UC, 80 startups were operating in 2013. 2014, there were as many as 160 startups in this particular domain. Now, the single most important thing that UC has done and overshadowed all these startups is the commitment to train their professionals. Because service industry, as we have already discussed, is highly unorganized. People work on their own. Service executive will work on their own time. और हर एक के पास उनका जो expertise होता है वो अलग अलग रहता है. UC made sure that whatever service I will provide in the cities or across the countries, it has to be standardized. So this was the major factor which got success for UC. Right? And अभी भी अगर किसी को नाम याद आ रहा है और end of session भी अगर किसी को इसके competitors का नाम याद है तो मुझे जरूर बताना. कोई नहीं. And still, UC is just present in 49 cities across the globe. Right? So there is still a lot of vacuum in this particular area. And मेरा एक friend है, मानवी कोठारी का जो मेरा junior था, he was stationed at Ahmedabad UC, and he was looking after the operations. And he said that we don't know, but there are many local startups in particular city. Like Ahmedabad has one or two startups. He told me the name, but I forgot. Which are working in this particular domain, and they are giving a very tough competition to UC. But just because they are bootstrapped, they are not getting funding. They are not getting any kind of news article or something recognition like that. So he says that for a particular area, you can start this particular service and you are going to get success. So अलकापुरी, अकोटा, वासना में भी अगर एक स्टार्टअप ये पर्टिकुलर चीज के लिए अगर आप रखो ना तो भी आपको गारंटीड सक्सेस मिलने वाला है. उतना ज्यादा वैक्यूम है ये पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट. सो सर्विस इंडस्ट्री जब हम लोग सर्विसेज लेते हैं, these four are the major words that we expect from the service executive. Right? वो चाहे इलेक्ट्रिशियन हो, प्लम्बर हो या हमारे बाल काट रहा हो, मैनिक्योर पेडिक्योर जो भी आप करवा रहे हो, it has to be affordable, it has to be trustworthy, it has to be efficient, and it has to be transparent. Service industry is like a gray area or a dark market, I would completely say, because प्लम्बर हमारे घर पे आएगा और वो बोलेगा कि सर ये नल खराब है, आप इसको चेंज करो. हम लोग बोलेंगे कैसे? बोलते हैं कि सर मैं मटेरियल लेके आता हूँ, आप चिंता मत करो. फिर वो मटेरियल लेके आएगा, वो उसको 200, 250, 300 का पड़ा होगा, हमारे पास वो बिल पड़ेगा 600 का और उसकी सर्विस चार्जेस और अलग. सो ट्रांसपेरेंसी वाज द मेजर कंसर्न फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर सर्विस इंडस्ट्री, which UC has solved like anything. So 2013, Abhiraj and Varun Khaitan or India Rotten, and they started with Cinema Box. So what they did was, this was the startup before UC. This was their startup before UC. So Cinema Box was a startup. I think it was around Delhi NCR, and these particular areas wherein people are commuting in the bus, and Delhi NCR, दिल्ली से अगर आप गुड़गांव जा रहे हो या दिल्ली से आप फरीदाबाद जा रहे हो तो that distance is long, और आप कभी-कभी अगर ट्रैफिक में फंसते हो तो that jam takes 2 hours, 3 hours to get clear. So what they did is they started offering a cinema box kind of application कि जो वॉल्वो होती है, जो एम्प्लॉइज को ले जाती है और वापस रखने आती है, उसके अंदर उन्होंने ये डिवाइस बनाया था कि आप वो सब्सक्रिप्शन मॉडल पे, डेली सब्सक्रिप्शन मॉडल पे आप वहाँ पे सीरीज या मूवीज आप देख सकते हो while you are commuting. That didn't take off. They tried hard for 6 months, but it eventually failed. At the same time, Raghav Chandra quit Twitter, returned to India, and fortunately he fell in Delhi. He settled in Delhi, and he also started Buggy at that particular time. So Buggy was app जिसको हम लोग अभी जुगनू का नाम से जानते हैं, right? So जुगनू का जो parent code है was developed by IBM, right? So Buggy did took off as well. सिनेमा बॉक्स वहाँ पर भी नहीं चला और बगी भी नहीं चला. During these times, Varun Khaitan got introduced with Raghav Chandra by their common friend in I think mid 2013, and they started discussing. So Varun Khaitan said that my startup failed. We tried for 6 months. So Raghav also said that I am also on verge of closing my company. Varun Khaitan, remembered, and he saw a particular glare in Raghav that my company needs a CTO, which Abhiraj was not a good technical guy, and even Varun was not that good technical guy, but Raghav was. So he talked with Abhiraj, and they said that, okay, let's pull him, and let's see what we can do. So during that time, they were sitting in a cafe, and they overheard a conversation between a bride and a groom who were sitting adjacent to their table, saying that, यार अच्छा सा wedding photographer नहीं मिला. And there they got the idea that okay, service industry जो है जहाँ पर बहुत सारे loopholes है, can we do something in that? And they started with a prototype. I think they built a normal prototype in less than 2 months, and they launched it in late 2013. But urban company जिसको हम जानते हैं उन्होंने वो register वो सब करवाया. That date was June 2014. तो तब उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा progress किया था, and they developed that particular app and website and launched it as an urban company, urban clap in 2014 June. Initial days, they literally used to go in the market. There are જ્યારે આપણે અહીંયા નવા બજાર જઈએ તો આગળ રાવપુરા ટાવર પાસે ઘણી બધી બ્રાઇડલ વેડિંગની શોપ્સ છે જ્યાં કપડાં મળે છે. ત્યાં બી એવા ઘણા બધા એરિયાઝ હતા. એ લોકો ત્યાં જતા અને ત્યાં રસ્તા પર લોકોને જઈને પૂછતા હતા, ઊભા રાખતા હતા કે વોટ અબાઉટ યોર કેટરિંગ સર્વિસીસ, વોટ અબાઉટ યોર ડેકોરેશન સર્વિસીસ, did you get the photographer or not? So this was the first sales and marketing that the co-founders did on a ground level.
Research.
Correct. Research as well as sales and marketing, because initially they had launched that particular app, but it was not that famous, and people were not knowing them. For the initial prototype of Urban Clap, they had named it as Pro-Wala, but they then changed it and turned to Urban Clap. While they launched the first prototype, by that time they had invested 10 lakh rupees each. So when we go for the investment or to the VC, one major question which VC will ask us is how much you have invested in your startup. मैं तो करूँगा ही, but what is your dedication? So they had funded themselves initially with 10 lakh each. November 14, Pro-Wala converted to Urban Clap. One of the interviews by Abhiraj, he said that we believe in this principle, which is RP, RT, RP, right place, right time, right product. Why so? 2014 was a time when smartphone companies were getting a real tough competition from the local market, and smartphones were getting cheap, affordable, right? So 14 में मतलब 13-14 में ऐसा था कि consumers हम लोग के पास smartphones आ गए, but जो सर्विस एग्जीक्यूटिव है वो अभी भी वो डब्बे वाले फ़ोन ही यूज़ करता था, क्योंकि एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम उनके पास उतना ज़्यादा वो नहीं था कि वो अफोर्ड कर पाए. बट 2014 वाज द राइट टाइम कि जब दोनों के पास स्मार्टफोन्स अवेलेबल थे, एंड दैट इज़ वेयर द अर्बन कंपनी गॉट सक्सेस. सो Abhiraj said that if we had started Urban Clap in 2011 or 2012, it would have been a major failure, because तब सिर्फ कस्टमर्स के पास ही स्मार्टफोन था, सर्विस एग्जीक्यूटिव के पास नहीं था. And 2018 was a time which was very late for this particular thing because 2014 में जब उन्होंने लॉन्च किया और जब वो नवंबर दिसंबर में अर्बन क्लैप के नाम से उन्होंने कन्वर्ट किया तब जैसे उन्होंने बताया था 160 startups were already there in this particular industry, in this particular segment, doing the exact same thing like Urban. So right place, right time, right product, and aggressive execution. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि initially co-founders लोगों को ज़्यादा के मिलते थे, and they used to ask, right? All right. So, Urban Company is said to be Flipkart, Amazon of the service industry. Flipkart, Amazon is हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि बहुत सारे फिल्टर्स आते हैं उसमें. सपोज हम लोग स्मार्टफोन खरीदने जाते हैं तो उसमें बहुत सारे फिल्टर्स आपको लेफ्ट साइड पे मिलेंगे कि आपकी प्राइस रेंज क्या है, कलर कौन सा चाहिए, कंपनी कौन सी चाहिए, राइट? सो सच फिल्टर्स आर देयर. So what UC did was to segregate these filters and segregate the services among the service executives because जब वो service executive को onboard करते थे कोई fresher होता था, कोई experienced होता था, right? So fresher one was allotted to a classic or the basic filter और जो lux filter जो है LUXE luxury filter उनका एक रहता था जहाँ पर experienced बंदे आपको मिल सके. But obviously pricing would be different. Pricing would be more in the lux category, right? Because of the experience. So what they did was they followed the model of Amazon and Flipkart because Indian consumers specifically want a very customized kind of services because everyone is having their own demands and it has to be fulfilled. And it has to be fulfilled by that particular service executive which is highly professional, who is highly trained, right? So you open an app, you select the category, आपको क्या चाहिए, 80 categories उनके पास listed है, right, from plumbing and everything. Then you select what's your criteria, आपका problem कितना बड़ा है, right? And according to that they will segregate. Machine learning will do the rest of the process in background and they will allot you the service executive who is highly trained. I'm emphasizing on this particular term trained just because this is the term which is separating UC from the other startups and that is why UC is a leader. Service executives इतने जिद्दी होते हैं उनको ट्रेनिंग करवाना is a tough job. Not just that, technical training nahi, they have put a major emphasis on soft skills as well. They have close to 100 training centers across 49 cities, 5 countries, and they have hired full-time 500 trainers for this particular job. They are making sure that my service executive is not going to misbehave with anyone. My service executive is going to deliver the best of the services possible. This was the major aspect of UC and its success. Talking about the revenue model, UC will take close to 15 to 20% of the quoted price. आप haircut करवाते हो, 250 rupees लिखा है, right? So UC will have the percentage share of 15 to 20%. And rest everything is taken care of by the service executive.
Same as Ola or Uber.
Correct. So why UC is a leader? Methodical training. They have SOPs that they follow, right? This is a very interesting concept which we saw in Nykaa as well. They have a closed loop approach and they have control over their inventory. So service executive is going to come at your place with his own equipments. Cosmetics के बारे में अगर आप बात करते हो तो उसमें जो beauty products, जो cream, face wash जो भी है वो best of the quality होगा and that inventory is managed by UC.
So does that mean they pick up from the main center?
Correct. They will share it with the service executives from their center. Yeah. So this is a very interesting concept, inventory control. Right? So they are making sure again that across all the cities and countries, my service has to be standardized.
Does it mean that there are other services that we are talking about?
Right.
Let's say, especially if you are talking about, let's say, plumbing, electrical,
everything. So
they offer those things.
Correct. Like from screwdriver to
Right.
yeah, everything is taken care of.
But the bigger revenue can come from that angle if you are selling the components or switches and fittings.
So
are they? Because
they are charging from service executives.
Yeah. So when I was looking at an electrician, I also saw that they are offering electrical fittings also.
Correct.
I don't know how much they are doing.
Correct. So these kits are not free. You see charges from the service executives. So it's not free. Inculcating trust was one of the major factors which UC has done, because after COVID, I think his service executive would be the first one to knock your door, right? For any kind of service, whatever. Even during the lockdown, they were operating. They always had a customer first approach, ensuring that they get quality of service. Nothing like that. Perks of partners, yeah. So what I was researching through and found out that all the 32,000 service executives, though they are not full-time employees, they are working as a freelancer on UC, they have accidental insurance. They have the facility of applying for loan, which UC will help them to get it. Right? So these particular things will ensure a service executive that I am working for a bigger organization and I have an umbrella over my head that which will protect me as well as my family. Right? Though they are freelancers, but they are giving most of the services, best of the services to their partners as well. Transparency, as we discussed, जो सर्विस इंडस्ट्री में नहीं होती है, they work majorly on that as well. So सर्विस इंडस्ट्री अगेन हम लोग अगर बात करें, advice that we used to get from the service executives before UC, it was very random, and we were not sure that this particular thing or advice that he has given to us is actually going to solve the problem. Right? Experience was the major concern. Support in terms of अगर कुछ भी वो रिपेयर करके जाता है और 1 घंटे में अगर वापस कुछ बिगड़ा तो क्या वो सपोर्ट करेगा आपको. UC हैज 90 days पॉलिसी कि मैं अगर आपके घर पे आके रिपेयर करता हूँ 90 days में भी अगर कुछ खराब हुआ तो आई विल गिव यू फ्री सर्विस. Competency, they made sure with their training that my service executive is going to be competent enough to solve any kind of challenge. Quality, again best due to the training. Performance, again at par. Customer satisfaction. So they have worked on this particular thing as well, that if you are not satisfied with the service executive that that was from UC, so like Ola and Uber, you will have that particular message of rating whenever he leaves your house. And if you rate him below 3, he will get banned by UC. It is a very clear policy that this particular executive is not going to get a particular order.
How many customers will
So there are 2-3 things. they ensured. Can you repeat your question again?
Means how many customers if they rate 3 or below 3, then they will.
They have that particular criteria. So I don't remember that particular number, but that criteria is there. So above these many ratings, 3 or below 3 will ban them.
In fact, the first 3 itself will attract attention from the company, and they will be really going. I mean, they will be investigating, they will be understanding what exactly is the issue, and if he repeats, he also knows. If he repeats or if he gets, then he will have further problem. I mean, whatever limited experience that I have, I think it is very wonderful. There are, let's say, gadgets like washing machine and all. There are very few people available. Either you go to the company which is, the cost and everything is, and their approach is also always like change the, this is old.
Correct.
Whereas these people are really, really taking care of it very well.
Correct.
Actually, their new ad campaign is on the same thing.
Of course, they have now added further service wherein they are saying that we'll be able to, on a video call also, they'll be able to suggest.
Expert video call.
And service is really very fast in terms of, I have seen 3-4 times that I had to really, but very interesting to know what these people are doing.
Absolutely.
How they are making, like saying that service is important is one, but how much work they have done to make sure that their service is something which is taken care of.
Yes. Unbelievable compliances in highly organized sector or service industry, which was previously not taken care of, or there was a huge vacuum. They made sure that we are going to follow SOPs and we are not going to deviate from them. Again, they are working with a very temperamental people, right? They are working with a very temperamental people, and they have to take care of both customer as well as the partners. Right? So compliance.
I think they have done much better than people like probably Ola or the kind of care that they are taking of the people. What you talked about, the insurance, loan facilities, so something like training, so much of 500 trainers on a permanent road.
Across 100 training centers. And they don't just train them on technical basis, but they give soft skills training as well. So they don't misbehave with customers.
That is very important.
Capacity building for the service executives, right? So they have taken care of all the training aspects, like we are discussing right now, right from technical to soft skills, everything. Being a freelancer, they are feeling that we are working for a major company, right? So these are the perks which an employee will get when he is working in a company, not a freelancer. So Abhiraj in one of the interviews said that we are taking, we are going an extra mile to ensure the safety of all our service executives, is because that they should feel that it is my company and my company is taking care of me and my family for so many reasons and at so many instances. So I have to deliver my best. So they are ensuring everything.
So why only Ola, even Zomato for that matter? I don't know how much they are doing in terms of making sure that they really feel
correct.
They are a part of a large organization.
Correct.
The trendsetter.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, customer obsession is one of the mantras for UC and all the employees. End-to-end services and consultation. Show you a video.
कवच कमजोर है, कंधे के नीचे कवच कमजोर है।
सही सलाह मिलेगी तो आपकी चलेगी।
सेंसर नहीं सर, ड्रेन पाइप खराब है, सिर्फ 200 रुपए ही लगेंगे।
Introducing Urban Company Video Consult. Buy accurate diagnosis of correct estimates. Try now for free.
So they जब वो ग्राउंड वर्क कर रहे थे, सबको जाके मिल रहे थे, दे आइडेंटिफाइड दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग कि इंडियंस को भरोसा दिलवाना इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट। आप टूथपेस्ट की एड जो देखते हो ना, उसमें वो एक्टर ही होता है जिसने डेंटिस्ट का कोट पहना है, वो एक्चुअल डेंटिस्ट नहीं है। बट कोलगेट विल इंश्योर कि डेंटिस्ट अगर आपको बोलता है कि ब्रश करो 2 दिन, तो आप ब्रश करेंगे। अगर वहाँ पे कोई एक्टर आके बोलेगा ना, तो शायद उतना इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं होगा। जो पर्टिकुलर सर्विस का पर्टिकुलर मास्टर है, उससे वो लोग वीडियो कंसल्टेशन करवाते हैं, जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि आपकी प्रॉब्लम एंड सर्विसेज जो है वो आप शायद छोटी सी गलती से सॉल्व हो सकती है और आपको कितना पैसा लगेगा, राइट? सो इट्स अ वेरी अमेजिंग सॉल्विंग द अनसॉल्व्ड, लाइक वी डिस्कस्ड राइट नाउ। ये पर्टिकुलर थिंग जब हम लोग ग्राउंड वर्क करेंगे ना, लोगों को जाके मिलेंगे, तभी पता चलेगा। ये पर्टिकुलर जो भरोसे वाली बात की हम लोगों को, they try to follow win-win situation for partners and for customers. They expanded their operations across 20 cities only during pandemic time. So 46 cities है, उन्होंने UAE, सिंगापुर, ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड इंडिया में 20 cities में penetration किया during the COVID times. So
how is their are they burning cash or
they are making profit of last year's profit was 50-55 CR.
okay.
So they are profitable. They are profitable. Yeah.
It's not like the other stories
No.
of being,
They are profitable. But they are highly funded. They are highly funded, and they are profitable.
Yeah, more important from that angle, whatever they are doing, it's not that burning the cash
Yes,
and
yes.
Getting the business.
We'll be getting to that aspect in marketing thing. They are not burning cash, but still they are making sure that they will leave an impact on a customer. And they have a very good sense of marketing. जैसे हमने ये वीडियो देखा, वो लोग क्वालिटी वीडियो ऐसे बनाते हैं, and they do influencer marketing, which we see in the next slides. They are trying to penetrate every service sector segment जो भी आप बोलो by 2025. Not just beauty, not just salon, not just plumbing and not just electrical. Each and every category जो service industry में fall करेगी, they are planning to get it on UC by 25.
Even booking and
Yeah. So their plan is to go for the horizontal direction by 25, and by 30 they are expecting to onboard 1 million service executives and train them. 10 lakh service executive by 2030.
the learning for us from that angle is how to plan.
Yeah,
You have to plan,
Absolutely.
how to look at future in terms of 5 years or 10 years.
absolutely.
And that gives you an idea as to what it can be.
See, because they are famous now, and people will try to copy their
Yes.
idea,
Yes.
but they have to be ahead of their competition and introduce new every year, or maybe probably every 6 months, to get ahead of the competition. So marketing, yeah, they are following the trend of influencer marketing. So they will get famous celebrities on their platform, and they will do paid marketing on Instagram. Instagram पे अगर आप कोई सेलिब्रिटी को अगर आप फॉलो करते हो, तो उनकी पोस्ट में अगर आप देखना, तो जहाँ पे वो ऊपर लोकेशन, नाम के नीचे लोकेशन लिखा आता है ना, वो उसमें होता होगा पेड मार्केटिंग, और वी वुड से
Paid promotion.
Correct. Paid partnership. Correct. That's the word. So they do influencer marketing on Instagram, and with the celebrities. Ayushman is there. This is Shweta Tiwari, and उसकी मॉम को कुछ मेडिकल पेडिक्योर चल रहा था, and she video called कि कैसा जा रहा है, and वो आपका ख्याल रख रहा है कि नहीं, and everything. Alright, so to sum up, I have a video again. This is Bill Ross. ये शायद टिकटॉक आपने देखा होगा, हमने पहले भी प्ले किया था. So he's talking about what are the factors that is going to decide that that particular idea or a product or a service or a startup is going to succeed or not. Right?
I'm really excited to share with you some findings that really surprised me about what makes companies succeed the most, what factors actually matter the most for startup success. I believe that the startup organization is one of the greatest forms to make the world a better place. If you take a group of people with the right equity incentives and organize them in a startup, you can unlock human potential in a way never before possible. You get them to achieve unbelievable things. But if the startup organization is so great, why do so many fail? That's what I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out what actually matters most for startup success. And I wanted to try to be systematic about it, avoid some of my instincts and maybe misperceptions I have from so many companies I've seen over the years. I wanted to know this because I've been starting businesses since I was 12 years old, when I sold candy at the bus stop in junior high school, to high school when I made solar energy devices, to college when I made loudspeakers, and when I graduated from college, started software companies. And 20 years ago, I started Idea Lab, and in the last 20 years, we started more than 100 companies, many successes and many big failures. We learned a lot from those failures. So I tried to look across what factors accounted the most for company success and failure. So I looked at these 5. First, the idea. I used to think that the idea was everything. I named my company Idea Lab and how much I worship the aha moment when you first come up with the idea. But then over time, I came to think that maybe the team, the execution, adaptability, that mattered even more than the idea. I never thought I'd be quoting boxer Mike Tyson on the TED stage, but he once said, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face." And I think that's so true about business as well. So much about a team's execution is its ability to adapt to getting punched in the face by the customer. The customer is the true reality. And that's why I came to think that the team maybe was the most important thing. And then I started looking at the business model. Does the company have a very clear path generating customer revenues? That started rising to the top in my thinking about maybe what mattered most for success. Then I looked at the funding. Sometimes companies received intense amount of funding. Maybe that's the most important thing. And then of course the timing. Is the idea way too early and the world's not ready for it? Is it early, meaning you're in advance and you have to educate the world? Is it just right, or is it too late and there's already too many competitors? So I tried to look very carefully at these 5 factors across many companies. And I looked across all 100 Idea Lab companies and 100 non-Idea Lab companies to try and come up with something scientific about it. So first, on these Idea Lab companies, the top 5 companies, CitySearch, Cars Direct, GoTo, NetZero, Tickets.com, those all became billion-dollar successes. And the 5 companies on the bottom, Z.com, Insider Pages, My Life, Desktop Factory, PeopleLink, we all had high hopes for, but didn't succeed. So I tried to rank across all of those attributes how I felt those companies scored on each of those dimensions. And then for non-Idea Lab companies, I looked at wild successes like Airbnb and Instagram and Uber and YouTube and LinkedIn, and some failures. Webvan, Cosmo, Pets.com, Flues, and Friendster. The bottom companies had intense funding. They even had business models in some cases, but they didn't succeed. I tried to look at what factors actually accounted the most for success and failure across all of these companies, and the results really surprised me. The number one thing was timing. Timing accounted for 42% of the difference between success and failure. Team and execution came in second, and the idea, the differentiability of the idea, the unique idea, that actually came in third. Now, this isn't absolutely definitive. It's not to say that the idea isn't important. But it very much surprised me that the idea wasn't the most important thing. Sometimes it mattered more when it was actually timed. The last two, business model and funding, made sense to me actually. I think business model makes sense to be that low because you can start out without a business model and then add one later if your customers are demanding what you're creating. And funding, I think as well. If you're underfunded at first, but you're gaining traction, especially in today's age, it's very, very easy to get intense funding. So now let me give you some specific examples about each of these. So take a wild success like Airbnb that everybody knows about. Well, that company was famously passed on by many smart investors because people thought, no one's going to rent out a space in their home to a stranger. Of course, people proved that wrong. But one of the reasons it succeeded, aside from a good business model, a good idea, great execution, is the timing. That company came out right during the height of the recession when people really needed extra money. And that maybe helped people overcome their objection to renting out their own home to a stranger. Same thing with Uber. Uber came out, incredible company, incredible business model, great execution too, but the timing was so perfect for their need to get drivers into the system. Drivers were looking for extra money. It was very, very important. Some of our early successes, CitySearch came out when people needed web pages. GoTo.com, which we announced actually at TED in 1998, was when companies were looking for cost-effective ways to get traffic. We thought the idea was so great, but actually the timing was probably maybe more important. And then some of our failures. We started a company called Z.com. It was an online entertainment company. We were so excited about it. We raised enough money. We had a great business model. We even signed incredibly great Hollywood talent to join the company. But broadband penetration was too low in 1999, 2000. It was too hard to watch video content online. You had to put codecs in your browser and do all this stuff. And the company eventually went out of business in 2003. Just 2 years later, when the codec problem was solved by Adobe Flash, and when broadband penetration crossed 50% in America, YouTube was perfectly timed. Great idea, but unbelievable timing. And in fact, YouTube didn't even have a business model when it first started. It wasn't even certain that that would work out. But that was beautifully, beautifully timed. So what I would say in summary is execution definitely matters a lot. The idea matters a lot. But timing might matter even more. And the best way to really assess timing is to really look whether consumers are really ready for what you have to offer them. And to be really, really honest about it, not be in denial about any results that you see. Because if you have something you love, you want to push it forward. But you have to be very, very honest about that factor on timing. As I said earlier, I think startups can change the world and make the world a better place. I hope some of these insights can maybe help you have a slightly higher success ratio and thus make something great come to the world that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Thank you very much. Been a great audience. But he won by teams executing, maybe with, then I looked at the funding. Is it early? Non-ideal, correct? Go to net zero eat. So I guess this, like Abraham companies had intense funding.
We will suggest Mr. Bill, जब वो अगर next time talk दे रहे हो, he should include UC, because UC is fulfilling each and every point that he has discussed right now. Each and every point. Timing, जो अभिलाष ने बोला था, RP, RT, RC, right place, right time, right product. 2013-14 सर्विस एग्जीक्यूटिव के पास स्मार्टफोन था, कस्टमर्स के पास स्मार्टफोन था, they had to connect. टीम एंड एग्जीक्यूशन, हमने जो बात की थी कि वरुण खैतान ने राघव को पुल इन किया, राइट, बिकॉज दे अंडरस्टूड द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ CTO, जो अभिराज नहीं था, वरुण भी नहीं था, राइट. एंड एग्जीक्यूशन, दो दे हैड नॉट formed a formal sales and marketing team, they went into the markets of Delhi founders and they did the execution, right. Idea obviously बहुत वैक्यूम था उसमें, वो पर्टिकुलर सर्विस सेगमेंट में, and they just got clicked. Business model again जो हमने बात किया, it was very unique. कस्टमर सर्विस, एग्जीक्यूटिव सर्विस को अगर आप ट्रेन कर रहे हो, and not just on technical front but on sales, on the soft skill side, that's a huge thing, right. Having your own trainers and training them for free, and they have a literally schedule, like अगर cosmetics में अगर आप उसमें रजिस्टर करते हो अपने आप एज अ सर्विस एग्जीक्यूटिव, तो वो आपको 15 दिन का रिगरस शेड्यूल आपको फॉलो करना पड़ेगा वो ट्रेनिंग में जाके. You cannot skip the training. You will not be able to get into the UC application. वो UC एप्लीकेशन में आपका नाम तब ऐड करेंगे जब आपने पूरी तरह से ट्रेनिंग को फुलफिल किया होगा तब.
But I'm surprised to know that Tata has invested in this company. Why they have not started or picked up this idea? Because they have got all infrastructure.
Expertise.
Without any single buy investment, they could have started this one.
Yeah.
But why Tata could not do it? कुछ खासियत तो होगा उसमें.
हाँ मतलब again this is a point where the expertise comes into the picture कि जिसमें expertise हो उसको उसमें ऑपरेट कर देना.
मतलब आइडिया का ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं है. आइडिया तो सबको पता है.
सबको पता है.
एग्जीक्यूशन में ही जो प्रॉब्लम.
एग्जीक्यूशन एंड कोर प्रॉब्लम जो हमने बात किया कि वो लोग चैलेंजेस को कैसे अप्रोच करते हैं. जो हमने ये वीडियो देखा कंसल्टेंसी का जो उन्होंने अभी स्टार्ट किया कंसल्टिंग राइट. सर्विस इंडस्ट्री में नो वन विल बिलीव अ प्लम्बर कि वो अगर बोलेगा कि मैं ये पूरा नल रिप्लेस कर देता हूँ, हमको थोड़ा तो डाउट रहेगा कि यार इसने मेरे से अच्छा पैसा लिया है कि एक्चुअली यहाँ नल बदलने की ज़रूरत थी कि नहीं.
टाटा का अच्छा इमेज है. टाटा को यहाँ पिक अप.
Yes.
Can I add the point to Tata? Okay, so Tata does that seriously. एक कंपनी एक certain point से ज़्यादा expertise या market capture कर लेती है, उसके बाद Tata acquires that company and it enters that market. Example से समझाता हूँ. Jio आया with JioMart in this lockdown era and तब Tata ने खरीदा Big Basket क्योंकि Big Basket का अच्छा competition था versus JioMart. So if it considers the company to be eligible and in that startup phase, it actually acquires and goes forward. But it hasn't yet with Urban Clap, so there might be some reason with that. Hope that answers.
Thanks, Ashish. So that was very much for the day. I just had time for it.
हाँ पति रहती है जी इंटरेक्शन
बाकी जा.
Can you tell me, Ahmedabad is famous for the business. Gujarat community is famous for business. What is the main business in Ahmedabad? Earlier days or nowadays? Is there any big industry?
Textile.
Any big business?
Textile. But it was.
खत्म हो गया. But still, Ahmedabad is flourishing like everything. Business, city is expanding. What would be the reason? ये एजेंट है. वी आर द एजेंट. यहाँ से माल लेना, यहाँ बेचना. एक्चुअली ये क्या
सेलर्स बेसिकली कंज्यूमर्स
एजेंट्स. कमीशन मुझे काम से ना कमीशन लेवन ये गुजरात के पास से सीखना. मारे कसून अलावा नहीं बट एनी अंदर जे स्टैंडर्ड मेंटेन करावे ये वस्तु युनिक છે. આપણે ડબ્બાવાળા જે સર્વિસ હતી ને આપણે બહુ પહેલાથી ચાલતી હતી અને હજુ ચાલે છે. સ્ટીલ ઇઝ કન્ટિન્યુ. યસ. એમનો બિઝનેસ મોડેલ પણ ખરેખર સારું હતું. પણ એમાં એક જ વસ્તુ હતી કે 40 ડબ્બા માણસ ઉચકીને ક્રેટની અંદર લઈને ત્યાં ટ્રેનમાં બેસવાનું નીકળવાનું. ધેટ નોબડી કુડ કોપી ઇટ.
Accuracy માટે they have got highest compliance across the board. Accuracy is 0.00. I mean the error rate is in 0.00 something.
And that's too with the illiterate people.
Correct. Correct.
You know codifications, color coding.
Yes. ત્યાં બી એ લોકોને ટ્રેનિંગ ને બધું તો મળતું જ હશે અને
એ મોડેલને લઈને કોઈ આ રીતે કર્યું હોત
કરેક્ટ
તો કમ્પ્યુટર બની શકે.
આઈડિયા પણ આવો જો પેઇન તો હતું જ. All these services if you look at in terms of ઘરે plumbing, electricians, any major instruments repair, whether it's microwave or fridge, you are always worried.
એક યુસીની વાત છોડો, અત્યારે જે કેટલા બધા બની ગયા સ્ટાર્ટઅપ એ એના લીધે જ કેટલા બધા પ્રોબ્લેમ્સ છે આપણા રાઈટ. યુનિકોર્ન બનવાનું કારણ અને જે લાર્જ સ્કેલ ઉપર થાય છે ને એ જ ટકે છે. બાકી જે સ્મોલ સ્કેલ વાળા છે એ ટકતા નથી.
I remember Delpho was one of the unit in Baroda, delivery of food. Right?
Yeah.
As you say,
Delpho,
right? But they, I mean, fantastic idea, honestly speaking, right? But they could not scale it up. Whereas the other people use the technology probably much more, and they were tech savvy as well as they were very risk-taking people in a way, I would say. and the VCs really realize that probably this is an idea which should work. So there are ideas, as you said, somebody would have started, and even Aman said that this service providers or such companies offering various services, there are hundreds of such companies.
Yeah.
But none of them today, we do not remember anybody else other than other.
They just list the service providers on their application and they have categories. So they don't have any kind of filters. They don't have any kind of program to check the efficiency of that particular personal service executive and everything.
investment क्या बोले training apart from training and
yes. ये लोगों platform development main तो
identifying those people. There will be people who will be going there, meeting them, right? So from that angle, starting from that background, then training them is something. The credential check is definitely which is going to be very, very important.
So Abhiraj in one of the interviews said that all these 32,000 personals who are working with UC, they have been handpicked.
Yeah.
They have been handpicked. So उन्होंने select करके filter out करके they have chosen the best of us.
That too across the globe.
Correct.
that is what I told you. Masses के अंदर जितना उसका expansion होगा, उतना success rate ज़्यादा.
And he claims that whatever service you are getting in Vadodara, if you are going to UAE or even Australia, that will be standardized. यहाँ पे आपको जो भी सर्विस मिल रहा है, वो सेम आपको वहीं पे देखने को मिलेगा. And close inventory control जो हमने देखा, that is again a very unique thing. वो लोग इन्वेंट्री कंट्रोल करते हैं कि कौन सी प्रोडक्ट्स हमारे सर्विस एग्जीक्यूटिव्स यूज करेंगे, कौन सा क्रीम वो पर्टिकुलर प्रोसेस में जाएगा, वो भी यूसी चूज करता है.
Selection is okay, but how much quantity is consumed in particular?
So they have that data that this service executive has gone for this particular facial. तो उनको पता होगा.
When they are charging
Yeah.
for any product, then they should not bother. आप 2 bottle ले लीजिए, 3 ले लीजिए.
No. So what they will do is
they will know how much quantity
correct.
to use.
Correct.
That monitoring will definitely be important.
They are charging for that.
So and they even ask customers sometimes randomly कि इसने आपको जब फेशियल किया तो ये पर्टिकुलर ब्रांड का क्रीम यूज किया था कि नहीं. That kind of check they are having. So if वहाँ पर भी अगर कस्टमर ना बोल रहे हैं तो problem.
And the service is very quick. In that sense, if you look at, I have experience only of electricians or major gadgets. Same day, at best next day. Otherwise, आप अमन को फोन करो, दीपेश को करो, ये आपने उसको फोन करो. They are so unorganized. आज बोलेंगे 2 दिन के बाद आएगा. As this has been made very reliable. This has been made very reliable.
And biggest thing I think they picked up from the other countries, which is a slot. So you can balance your other priorities, maybe office work. If they'll say we'll come between 4 to 5,
Yes.
they will come and you are done. You don't have to waste your time.
Definitely.
Others would say I'll come at 4,
Definitely.
they'll come by after 6 and you are gone.
Right.
You're just waiting and wasting your time.
Absolutely. Point.
And like today in the urban areas, people do not, they are nuclear families, maybe both of them will be working and all.
Exactly.
And that is where it is important that they come at a precise time.
One of the customers interview that I came across on YouTube, he says that he stays in Dubai and he says that he is having a mansion of 5 BHK in Dubai. So he says that मैं यूसी को जब फ़ोन करता हूँ, बाहर मैं कारपेट के नीचे चाबी रख के जाता हूँ और हम लोग हस्बैंड वाइफ दोनों काम करते हैं. That kind of reliability they are having on that particular person कि यहाँ पे कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं होगा जब मैं यूसी से मंगवा रहा हूँ.
But that will happen in every country. Like there are many countries where people will leave the house to these people. Yeah. So that country's overall, let's say, security.
Apart from that, main thing is कि आपको सर्विस के लिए बिफोर सर्विस एंड आफ्टर सर्विस का भी जो आपका काम होता है ना, वो आपको नहीं करना पड़ेगा. वो आपके बाल काट के जाएगा, पूरा एरिया घर के अंदर पूरा सैनिटाइज करके जाएगा, वो आपका पूरा रूम. सो वहाँ पे आपको आफ्टर सर्विस भी आपको कुछ भी करना है, end to end solution.
Even if a local vendor would or local service provider would come AC repair or they'll keep
Kachro
the
mein,
dust
हाँ,
as is
Exactly.
and the females in the
And
house they'll get frustrated like they need to do all those stuff.
Things there.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. And one more point is adding to your that Ahmedabad one example and commission one. Though they are commissioned, but I think what they have also made sure is they have, along with the agent and commission, they have a domain knowledge of all the services.
Correct.
So it would not be just a commission one, but they are expertising
As
in
the
the
owner, they may not be, but they must have hired the people.
Exactly. So they have gained. Yeah, they have gained. Definitely.
Otherwise, they cannot fix the charges. How much charges?
And again, they do not have a very large industry. Like say, Baroda can boast of large companies like Refinery to GSF to ABB to many other, let's say, large companies. But they have a very large number of, let's say, dyes companies, very large number of engineering companies, right? And though they measure, let's say, textile was the measure that is, let's say, more or less not existing today, but still these industries today, let's say, I remember having even working in the industry, if we had to have, let's say, good, let's say, a component which needs to be machined and prepared, we will go to Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
So from that, so there are some niche available in that city, and of course now the other industries are also, they have picked up the purely service industry also has picked up there.
Any questions?
How much business from India and other country is that the company can charge?
In data, I couldn't find.
Because in other country, definitely this can be a successful model, but in India, it's 50. Because a lot of other people are there. And particularly some people will have a choice. Because this is a
Correct. And this particular segment in which they are operating is not having a recurring revenue. So आपने मतलब मैंने अगर बाल कटाए तो मैं अभी सीधा उसको एक डेढ़ महीना बाद कॉल करूँगा. So they are not having recurring revenue. हाँ मतलब recurring है but customer repeated customers के पास so they have a very
And even the one that I think I want to use the same technician next time, I think that level of provision they have kept with the use of technology. And another thing which I've observed the way they have used the technology is the level of depth of the service and the level of customization, which I can challenge even if you, let's say you want to repair something of that particular brand, even their brand specific service haven't gone to that depth and customization. Like I can select this one, I can opt this one, so that's really commendable.
Like just like our TFJ center, we have that equipment and everything. They have all that setup of all the air conditioning brand, TVs, microwave ovens and everything, and they do the hands-on and everything. For
kind of a test labs.
Training,
They
making
not training.
Space also will be maintained by them.
Yeah.
That is a huge.
Correct. That's a huge cost. And 500 full-time trainers.
Which is big.
So it will be both software, soft skill as well as the hard skill both put together, right?
Yes, both combined.
So in these big centers, they will have technical people training on various gadgets.
Correct.
So apart from their own service charges, they are not getting any salary fixed money.
You see,
The partners.
No. But one of the, let's check if I have that video. They, all the service personnel are incentivized based on their quality of services. So they have that particular provision as well. One of the articles which I was going through, there is a dentist in Indore who was going full time and he was having experience of his own clinic and having experience of around 6 to 7 years. He was a music enthusiast. Randomly one day, he uploaded his profile on UC, went through training and everything, and became a guitar tutor. That I am available on Saturday and Sunday. My clinic is not working, so I'll do the freelancing and everything because this is my passion and I love guitar. After 6 months, he was earning more from his clinic on UC. He literally scrapped that dentistry business and he's working full time as a guitar tutor on UC.
Amazing.
These are success stories are there. One of the videos, let me again check. Content तो बहुत है, हमारे पास खाली टाइम नहीं बस. Just bear with me.
તમે જે વાત કરી ને how much he earns